Alright YouTube, this video is going to be a pretty good one, I think. I looked on YouTube, I'm pretty sure I couldn't find a single video that's going to be covered on which I'm going to be telling you. So this video is going to be for the 1998 through 2004 Kawasaki KX100. It's going to be describing, or I'm going to be describing, the flaws with the bike, the things that can be improved, and give you helpful tips, tricks, and a little bit of information on these type of things that can be fixed on this bike. So I hope you enjoy. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to discuss is the power valve. Now on the latest generation of the KX100 and the 85, it has a power valve. As you can see, here's the power valve, and the design of it is not a very good design. There's a little rubber boot. Here's the shaft right here that hooks up with the gear down there, down in here, but goes up here and then it's linked, and then there's a flapper that's part of the valve right straight through here, and that flapper is plagued for breaking a lot. And this design of the power valve is designed to where it makes the bike a little bit more sluggish, as you would call it. So the design of the power valve on this bike isn't a very good one, and you need to keep a checkup on your power valve, clean it and such, because it will stop up, gunked up from carbon and sludge, and it could break. So if you feel your bike is losing power or it's just not running right, one of the things you should check is the power valve to make sure it's not clogged up or anything like that. But that is the power valve. Okay, so the second thing I'm going to discuss is the activating rod for the clutch, and that is this right here. So the first thing I'm going to say is that you can cut this lever in half and then get about half-inch piece of metal and splice weld it onto this to have it. Makes perfect sense. It'll give the lever more leverage, and it will make the clutch engagement a lot easier. So instead of this being right here, it might be out here a little bit more, but it will make the engagement easier, and you'll have to make some clutch adjustments up here to make up for the added leverage. And the second thing I'm going to say about this engagement rod is that when you take it out, there's like a groove where it slides on the rod that pushes against the basket right in the center right here. It's pretty much in the center of this activating rod. You can take that out and polish it, and it'll make clutch engagement and feel a lot more easier and better. So that is a good one right there. Alright, so the third thing I'm going to discuss is this side right here. When you take this cover off, take the magneto off and stator and such, your main, or your left side crank seal is right there on the crankshaft. But to get the crank seal out on Kawasaki dirt bikes, including this bike, you have to split the cases to get to the seal, because there's 3 tabs on the crank case that hold the seal in, so you can't get a pick or anything and just pick the seal out like other bikes. So you're gonna have to split the cases to get to the main crank seal for the ignition side of the engine. But there are also around the crank seal. There are 3 oval plugs, you would call them, and you can get some epoxy because they could possibly leak over time. Get some epoxy and smear them on those little oval plugs that are on it. They're positioned kind of like the way I'm moving my finger. But you can put some epoxy on those so they can not leak. But that's another thing you should check on when you do rebuilding of the engine and the bottom end, or just checking up on it. Okay, next thing is again the carburetor. I've seen around that you can switch over to a PWK, my bad, Keihin 28mm carburetor with, of course, a good reed set, either V-force reeds or Boyson rad valves. That combination is a very good combination for the KX100 and power and acceleration and throttle response. Okay, next thing, as you can see, is the undercarriage. On the left and on the right side, the engine is very exposed. So even though I don't have one on the bike, a skid plate is very, very ideal for this bike if you're doing off-road riding. Alright, next thing is the chain and sprocket combination. Now this bike comes stock with 420 chain and sprocket. Now you can get the conversion and just get the more durable, heavier, and longer lasting 428 sprocket and chain. As you can see, it is a lot more heavier duty because it is 428, a lot more heavier chain and sprocket. So I do advise doing the conversion from 420 to 428. Next thing, of course, is the aftermarket pipe that you can install. This one is FMF and it's the SST with the FMF Shorty. Now this pipe combination that is on this bike makes it have a little bit more snap and overall helps out the bike, just like any aftermarket pipe for any bike.